Have you realized how memories are only perceived reality, not actual reality? You can remember something completely different than someone else, and over time, that memory can warp and change in your mind as well. It's funny how the past is not actually real, it's only a figment of our imagination. A moment that left a big impact on you and became a core memory could have been insignificant to someone else who experienced that same moment. The same experience could be remembered as positive to one person and negative to another. Reality is experienced through our lens of perception. No two people are having the exact same experience, even if they're living the exact same moment. This is a concept that more people need to be aware of. Everybody is living in their own version of reality. Yes, we're all living in the same plane, this 3D existence, but even if you are experiencing a moment with someone else, you are going to see it differently, interpret it differently, remember it differently because you're looking at it through your own lens. Reality is filtered based on your mind or your emotions, how you interpret the world, the judgments that you make subconsciously or consciously. There's no two versions of the same story. Even if you're living the same moment as someone, you can look back at your life at the core memories that you have. So we all have core memories, moments in our life that stuck out that we just remember more than other moments. If you were to rewind to any of those core memories, those memories that you shared with other people, they might not see that memory the same way that you do. To you, it was impactful because of XYZ, but to that person, they either remember it differently based on their own experience, or they might not even remember that moment at all because it was really insignificant to them. So it's just to say that even looking at your past and the way you view your past and your life story, it's only your interpretation of the reality. It's not true reality because it's how you responded to that moment and it's how you perceived that reality as your life. It basically means it's the story that you tell yourself. Everyone is living their own story that they're telling themselves. And this is a story that's not a true story necessarily, but it's true for you because that's how you interpreted these events in your life story. And the key word here is interpretation. Everything is just an interpretation of reality. How you see yourself, how you see your life, how you remember the past events of your life, they are all an interpretation. It's not fact. It's your opinion and your judgment on what happened. The point I'm getting to is once you recognize that all your memories and all your beliefs and all the stories that you've been telling yourself are just an opinion and a judgment and not fact, it means that you don't have to keep believing the same stories. You don't have to keep seeing your past or your life the same way that you've been seeing it because there's so many different perspectives that you can see and experience, and there's so many ways you can see something from different perspectives, new perspectives. I know it's something that we've heard before, like a perspective shift is everything, but I think it's just a reminder that the way you see your past is just one version of the story. It's not the full story, and it doesn't have to be the only story that you choose to see or you choose to believe in. So the first use case for this concept is that it's really helpful for reassessing your past and redefining the stories that you've been telling yourself. Instead of looking at your past and your core memories as solid, you see them as more malleable. They're just an interpretation, and there's other ways of seeing it. You can look at it from the other person's perspective, from a third person's point of view, or even like a tree that was nearby when you were having an argument. What's the perspective of the tree? What's the perspective of the bird that was nearby, right? You're not limited to just one version of this story because there's actually an infinite amount of angles and versions of the story that could be told. Another use case for this concept is to recognize how you're perceiving your current reality, because everything that we interpret from our life today, like right now, is still filtered by our mind. It's filtered by the version of who we are now, the emotions we're feeling at the moment, the judgments that we have in our mind. The way you see life and the way you see the world is so unique to you because everything is filtered by this brain. This is why when you're in a good mood, every everything in life is beautiful. Even the little quirks, you're like, ooh, that's cute, I'm grateful for that. Or when someone trips or when you trip up over something, you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. You're in a good mood and you have a positive outlook on life. And so everything is just filtered through that perspective. Versus if you're a person who is in a bad mood or you're very negative, you see things in a cynical way, like you're gonna see more and more negativity. You're gonna see the worst in people versus the best in people. If you trip, you're gonna be like, oh, like, I'm so unlucky, or the world hates me. It literally could be the same thing happening to two different people, but they respond to it and they interpret it in a different way based on this filter that we call the mind. So in recognizing that we all have this filter, we all are interpreting reality through our own lens, through our own perceptions, like you can start to become aware of this filter, start to become aware of how am I shaping reality, and am I shaping it in a way that helps me or hurts me? How am I judging the world? How am I judging others? What beliefs do I have about life and the world in general? And how is that influencing how I live my life and how I feel about my life? All of these things are technically within your control. Most of it is subconscious. So you have to start to become aware before you start to undo the subconscious beliefs and the subconscious filter that you have. But it is completely possible to change your outlook in life. It's completely possible to change your beliefs. It's completely possible to change this filter that you have. Like if this filter is making your life difficult, if this filter is making everything feel like a struggle, like why do you still keep it on? It's like wearing like really dark sunglasses and going about life being like, I can't see, everything looks so dark and hazy and thinking that that's what reality is. It doesn't have to be that way. You can start to become aware of this filter, this lens that you have on, and then you can start to change it in a way that becomes more helpful to you. And that is a very deep internal process of just undoing so much. The third use case for this concept is once you recognize that everyone is living in their own version of reality, it allows you to judge less. It allows you to not take things so seriously and not take things so personally because everyone is living their own version of reality. So if someone says something that's offensive to you, whether it's intentional or unintentional, like you don't have to let it hurt you because you can understand like, okay, that's how you interpret your reality. Like those are your judgments that you're making, and that is just an opinion. It's not fact. Like what you're saying about me, it has nothing to do with me as a person because they can never know who you are. They're not you. They're not living your life. They're not in your shoes. They can't know. So anything that they say, they're saying it through their lens, through their perspective, through their perception of how they see the world, who they are. So everything that people say, even me, right? Everything people say is an interpretation of how they feel about themselves or how they view life. So they can say negative things about you and mean things to you because that's how they see their life. That's how they see themselves, right? They might think life is harsh. You're never gonna make it. Don't chase your dreams because you're never gonna make it. You're gonna fail. It might be hurtful because when hearing that, you think that it's about you, but actually it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what they believe about life, how they see themselves and how they see life. It actually becomes so empowering to understand how everyone's living in their own version of reality because what people say, it doesn't get to you. You understand that is their version, their interpretation of life, but it's not reality. It's their reality. You get to decide your reality. You get to decide my reality includes abundance. It includes positivity. And you can believe like I'm a lucky person, right? This goes into manifesting, law of attraction. Whether you believe in the spiritual aspect of law of attraction or whether you believe in the psychological aspect of just believing the right things that you want to believe versus like, what you don't want to create more of in your life. You create your own version of reality. Reality is interpreted through your brain and you get to shape that lens. And this brings me to my last point that I want to make today, a very important point, and it has to do with creating your dream life. So once you recognize that you are the creator of your own reality, that this filter is something that you can change and shape, then it becomes really fun because you can start to take yourself to the ideal version of you, or take yourself to your ideal lifestyle, like the dream life that you want to create internally. And it is more important to have that internal feeling of living your dream life than it is to have the external proof and the external reality of that. And let me explain. So when we talk about creating your dream life, most people think about the external things, oh, I want to have this career, I want to have this amount of money, I want to have this house, this car. You think of all these external things, but it's just as important, if not more, to have the internal feeling of living your dream life as it is to have these external things. I'm sure you've heard stories of people who have reached high levels of success. They have all the money, just everything that you could ever want externally in life, and yet they're still struggling, they're still suffering, they still stress out about life and work, they're still go, 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 they're still chasing the next thing, they still think it's not enough, they still want more and more and more, right? Those people are not at peace, and they don't feel truly happy, even though they have all these external things. So that's why it's just as important to have the internal feeling of that satisfaction and fulfillment, just all the feelings that you want to have in your dream life, as it is to have the external. And the internal manifests the external realities. If you really think about it, what we are chasing for and what we want is not the external versions of success, but what we want is what those things make us feel. So for example, some feelings that we're all truly after when we are setting these external goals are feelings like security, safety. We all want to feel safe. We all don't want to feel like we have to worry about where to get our next meal or worry about money. We all just want to feel that level of safety and security. Another thing could be feeling free, feeling like you could be your authentic self, feeling loved. That's a huge one. We all deep down want to feel loved. And for some people, that desire to feel loved manifests in all these external things, right? You try to prove yourself to others, you try to impress others, win others over. Deep down, all you really wanted was to feel loved. So anyway, I challenge you to look at your goals, look at your dream life that you're hoping to create, and then get down to the root feeling that you want in your life. You can have all these material, surface level desires, which is totally fine and great, but ask yourself, okay, why do I have this desire? What is the internal feeling that I'm trying to create? And the beautiful thing about getting down to the root feeling that you were searching for is recognizing that feelings are something that we can generate within ourselves. It's a matter of, again, shifting your way of looking at life. It's a way of shifting that filter. So if you are trying to feel more abundant in your life, let's say you want to reach success because you want to feel abundant in your life. You want to feel safe, secure, and abundant. Then you recognize those feelings, and then you can start to use all these techniques that we talk about to change your beliefs to really sink into that feeling of abundance, whether you do abundance guided meditation. But there's so many ways to bring that feeling into your now. Your external world might not look abundant yet, but you can choose to feel that way now. And once you start to feel abundant in your life, then that becomes your filter. Then you start to see, oh, I see more and more abundance in my life. Oh my God, look at all these fruits I have in this backyard tree. That's so abundant. Oh my God, look at all the books I have in my home. It's so abundant, right? The more you feel it, the more you see your life through that lens. And because you see your life through that lens, then you invite more of the same, whether you just recognize it more or you attract more of it in your life based on your feeling and your energy that you're giving off. So in summary, creating your dream life is more about these internal shifts that you have to make in order to start to create more of that in your reality. It goes from all angles, from law of attraction. You're attracting more of that energy that you're feeling, and you're also also interpreting the world through that filter. And so everything that you see in your life is kind of like proof and evidence of this belief. And because you're feeling what you want to feel in your dream life, then you start to truly enjoy your life, because even if you're not there yet at the destination, you start to enjoy more of the progress and the journey getting there, because it just feels like a natural flow. Like, I know where I'm going. I already feel abundant. I already feel all these things that I want to feel. And I know that if I continue feeling this way, then my life is going to continue to develop in a way that supports this feeling and that supports this belief. Let me know down below which of these use cases sticks out to you the most. Which one do you think you will implement next to make a big shift in your life? Is it regarding your past? Is it regarding your current interpretation? Is it regarding like not letting other people's opinions get to you, not letting other people's judgments get to you? Let me know down below which part was the most helpful. But I just think this concept is so interesting and there's so many angles to look at it, but it is something that I'm recognizing more and more. Like, we are living in our own version of reality, and you have to recognize that other people are living in their own versions of reality. No matter what you say to them, like, sometimes you just can't get to people because they're not ready to see it, right? They're living in their own world. You're living in your own world. It's empowering to know you can shape your own world, and it also helps you not be so frustrated when you can't get through to someone, because you recognize that they're living in their own interpretation of reality. And, you know, it is what it is, right? Essentially, you start to understand people better. You have more empathy for people. You judge people less, because you realize that even though their opinions are different from yours, their opinions are valid because they have their own reasons for why they believe something. They have their own reasons for why they make certain choices and certain judgments, and it has nothing to do with you. So you focus on yourself and you let people focus on their life. Thanks for watching today's video. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.